Greetings, everyone. So, I took a really nice walk today. It's just absolutely beautiful where I live. It was like the 70s, out in nature. All the woodpeckers are out. I saw the largest woodpecker I've ever seen. Chipmunks, hawks, eagles, red-winged blackbirds, seagulls. I mean, it was amazing. Rabbits. So, anyways, just wanted to share that because it was amazing. It was just so amazing. And I just learned that if I don't go take a walk with my music on, I would not have noticed these things. So, I alternate. So I think, anyways, it was amazing. So, I was thinking about a topic related to narcissism that I wanted to talk about, and this one I'm really winging. So, however, I feel it's very, very important. And I'm going to talk about some of my experiences or observations. So it might not be something I was directly involved in. And just things that I've learned, either through reading books, personal experience, or watching really amazing YouTube videos with experts that either have a different viewpoint of mine or they're smarter in that subject. So I would say passive-aggressive behaviors, and not everybody that utilizes passive-aggressive tactics are narcissists. They might be using these tactics for self-preservation. So that doesn't make them a narcissist. You know, like I say, if it's a constant, then there's something's going on. And I would probably guess that more passive-aggressive narcissists would be considered vulnerable or covert. Passive-aggressive, I'm going to start with the passive-aggressive behaviors and more so like what the narcissist is going to utilize. Because as I mentioned yesterday about when I talked about narcissism in a nutshell, it always comes down to manipulation and control. So the more passive-aggressive narcissistic tactics are really unnerving. I would say that any type narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, all use gaslighting. So the first thing I think of is gaslighting with a covert, passive-aggressive. It's always, whatever they're doing with their passive-aggressive tactics is to unnerve you, maybe make you feel like you're going crazy, make you feel inadequate, because that's like, boy, man, nothing a narcissist loves more than to make you feel lesser than. But it's keep you off guard, off your game, out of your element. It's to take away from your sense of self, which is really vampiric. So one thing I can think of, and this is just off the top of my head, say you're married to like a full-blown, extremely covert narcissist. And this is before you have any knowledge of what's going on with them. And you're really looking forward to this family event. Like you're going to have your family's having a get together, kind of like a reunion, a barbecue, the grandparents, the aunties, the children. It's going to be a really good time. And you've been looking forward to it for a long time. And initially the narcissist is going to say, oh yeah, babe, I'm excited. It'll be great. We're going to go see your mom. I can't wait. We're going to have enchiladas, or we're going to have burgers, one of the, family dishes. And you even have it marked on your calendar, days till. You've got the kids' schedules all, in sync. He says he's going to take a day off for the day to make sure everything is nice. And then you went out and you bought certain food items so you could bring your dish. The kids are excited. They're just like, Mommy, I can't wait. The day before the family get together, or more ideally, the night before. Because they love that shit. They love to ruin things. They're going to come home from work and say, babe, I can't go to the family gathering. My boss just gave me this new assignment and it's due tomorrow. I can't go. The kids are going to be crying. You're going to be crying. Going to be so upset. And meanwhile, he's going to look like the greatest guy in the world, right? Because he's doing his work to support the family. It's not really his fault. It's his boss's fault. It is like, it's so mind-boggling. It's so mind-boggling. And they are very, extremely good at like slithering out of, it wasn't my fault. My work made me do it, or my boss made me do it, or so then they have no culpability, no responsibility. Everybody's crying. Then you have to call mom because mom's expecting you. The aunties are expecting you. Everybody was excited. And now everything's ruined. So that would be an example of passive-aggressive behaviors. And trust me, they are so good at it, you won't even know that that is a passive-aggressive tactic. And that's the beauty of it being more covert, is it's so under the radar. In fact, I can't remember this video I had recently watched. Very good, very good video, but very extremely sad. Because in the UK got it this time. They ruled that coercive control is a crime. And I wish I could remember the name of the video. And I stayed up really late watching it, but it was this British man who was married to like one of the most evil women I've ever witnessed. And he was being so badly abused. And I think really the reason he stayed is because they had children together. And you guys all know how that works in the courts. So the only way that this poor man could prove the evil things that she was doing is to, you know what, I think his friend did it. His friend knew something was going on. Like one of his best friends. And his best friend, I don't think the guy had knowledge of this. He secretly recorded. He put secret video equipment installed into the house in different areas. And later on, that was how this man was able to prove what the woman had done to him. Evil on a level, I would say that's that Machiavellian stuff, man. If you ever get a chance, go look into the dark triad, the Machiavellian. I really had a hard time understanding it at first. But if you really dive into it, man, evil. So that is, the coercive control is 100% passive-aggressive. I mean, this woman, she didn't only do passive-aggressive. But how she was able to go under the radar is like threatening him. Well, if you do this, I'm going to go to the police and say you were beating me. You know, things like that. So I personally think passive-aggressive behaviors, or the more narcissistic kinds, they're kind of, it's hard to detect. And people that do this are so good at convincing people. It kind of reminds me of that old movie with, oh, The Omen. Did you guys ever see that old movie, The Omen? The little boy that was, he technically was demonically possessed and was going around killing people and nobody knew it. It was I haven't watched that in like a long time. But that's really what all this passive-aggressive kind of stuff is. It's effing sick, man. I'm going to use passive-aggressive behavior, but it's going to be actually talking about gaslighting. Say you're doing really well at work, like you love your job. I'm going to just use nonprofit as an example because that's what I used to work in, amongst other, And you're just like, you're loving your job. You get along really well with your coworkers. You get along with your managers. You're to the point, you're like, I just want to come in, do my job, go home, mind my business. And you're getting some positive feedback from your manager. And you've made some acquaintances at work, kind of like what I would call work friends. And you have one lady you made friends with, her name's Tina. And you go to coffee breaks together, smoke breaks, things like that. And you just chit-chat. You don't really get involved in work gossip too much. But she does seem to be kind of interested in what everyone else is doing. It's a red flag right there. I mean, if it's over the top. I always say over the top. Hold on. And you've got, your boss is really happy with you. And she likes how you organize things, like you're really very organized and articulate when it comes to creating like surveys or data collection. And so your boss is really overwhelmed at the time. She's got so much to do. And she asks you for help on this project. And you don't really mind because at the time you're not overworked. You're doing okay. You have enough time. The project's not humongous. It's just a little extra thing that you just want to help. And this other gal that you've been hanging around on coffee breaks or smoke breaks, whatever's your thing, she's aware of what's going on, that your boss wants you to do this project. Even though you don't talk about it much, you're smart enough at work to just kind of keep it light and just don't talk about too much of your job. And we're going to go back to paperwork because I'm a Gen Xer and it's easier to explain. So you have this folder on your desk of what exactly the boss wants you to do. And you started organizing it, you have it alphabetical and by date or whatever, and kind of just looking at it just to see how you're going to go about doing it. And you come to work the following day and the folder's missing. And you're like so stressed out about it. Well, meanwhile, Tina took that folder. This kind of stuff happens all the time. The people that do this are just, their heads are not right. They're not right. So, you're upset. Now where your boss had a really positive outlook about you and gave you this extra project, Now she's looking at you side-eyed because she doesn't really trust you. Which is exactly what Tina wanted to happen. Because Tina can't keep her nose in her own business. She has to get into yours because she's so inadequate and has such low self-esteem about herself. She has to make sure that you're messed up. So, yeah. I would say how do you say this? Misplacing paperwork is a notorious one. Losing things. I actually saw this in my own life. And I'm not going to get into details, but one of the narcissists that I was dealing with, and this is when I was really picking up that she was fucking out of her mind. She was hiding her loved one's keys. That's one form of gaslighting. So, it's always to keep you off your game. To make you feel lesser than. To make you feel bad about yourself. And how we can combat this is working on our own self-esteem. I myself work on it every day. I started getting, I've always been into law of attraction. It's real. So I was watching some Bob Proctor videos today. Really good. And he had one video, I believe it was titled, Improve Your Self-Esteem in 2023, which unfortunately he's no longer with us. But I really loved how he covered it. It's something you have to work on all the time, especially if you were traumatized. But the passive-aggressive stuff will really, man, it will mess you up in your mind because you're sitting there thinking like, what the F? I just set this thing down and now it's gone. They always do things underhandedly. I actually had one of my workplaces that I worked at when I was working as an employment specialist with disabled people. That job was interesting, but I did enjoy working with the disabled. This is really kind of crazy. Let's see, how much do I want to share? I actually don't really, there's nothing that could be used for my ruin in this story. That I was doing a very good job. I enjoyed the people I worked with for the most part. And I have a suspicion of two different people. I never was able to figure out who did it, but I have a strong suspicion. And this person, I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to give it away. Well, there was one person that I worked with that was trying to set me up, which didn't work. She just set herself up. And then I'm at my job, and I'm going out doing outreach to try to help get jobs and work studies and things like that for, not work studies, I forgot what it's called, but to help place work placement for various disabled clients I had. And I was called in the office by my boss. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I was mad because, I was out and I wanted to get this stuff done, and I tried to stay out of the office because I liked it better. And I get to my office and the HR person is there, my manager's there, the director's there, which I have very fond memories of all these people. And someone had been writing the HR department for months, trying to get me in trouble. And I've thought long and hard about this, and let's just say I think this person was close to me. And anyways, sitting there at this, this table, and then they're explaining to me. And they had to call the police because it had gotten so bad. And they said they didn't bring any of it up to me because they kind of had an idea who it was. But the most recent email they received, they were telling my bosses that I was claiming to be working while I was at a coffee shop waiting for my car to get fixed, which was 100% untrue. But the reason they called me in was because they said, now we knew you were in danger. So, like, I'm just hit upside the head. I had no idea any of this stuff was going on. And I was kind of taken aback. And the police officer was asking me all these questions. Like, do you have a scorned lover? You know, all these, typical questions a police officer asks you. And that was negative for all the questions he asked. And I just was shocked. I was just kind of creeped out. And it was because, well, clearly that's passive aggressive. And the goal was to get me fired, which didn't work at all. And I'm grateful for the people that I worked for, not necessarily with, but I'm grateful for the people I worked for because they were very good people. And the police report went nowhere. Shocking, I know. And yeah, I'm sure it's probably kind of difficult for police, to just put their finger in the air and try to figure out who's doing this stuff. But it wasn't like a really high-level crime, and I'm pretty sure I know who did it. But, no way to prove it. It didn't matter. I severed relationships with two of the people that I had suspected, but there's one that I'm more so suspect. But that is the kinds of behind your back, sneaky, really awful things that people using these passive-aggressive behaviors will do. And of course, like all the other videos, I want to touch more on these subjects, and I think we could go really deep into the whole passive-aggressive. But passive-aggressive behaviors are kind of hard to detect, unless you've been studying these kinds of things for a long time. So, anyways, I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'll definitely be getting more into some of these topics related to passive aggression. You have a good day or a good night wherever you are. Peace.